Okay, so we've talked about graphing equations before. This is learning to graph linear inequalities. So it starts out the same way, but there's just the only difference is the shading that's involved. So this is just a quick little introduction for this next little part of the chapter. So luckily for today, these equations are already in slope-intercept form, so you don't have to worry about converting from standard to slope-intercept. So we're going to graph like normal and then talk about the basics. So just a little preview, okay? When it comes to inequalities, if you have the less than or greater than symbol, we are going to use a dashed line. Sometimes I call it dotted line, so it's whichever you prefer. If it's less than or equal to or greater than or equal to symbol, we're going to use a solid line, because a dashed line means the points on that line would not be included, whereas a solid line means if I had a point on that line, it would be included. And then, broken it down even more, if it's less than or equal to, we are going to shade below. This is talking about the shading part of it. That means, oh yeah, so we'll go over the shading in later. Then y is greater than or equal to, we're going to shade above. Okay, so let's just practice some problems here to get you ready for your assignment. So number one, we always start with the y-intercept. The y-intercept here is +4. So on the y-axis, I start at +4. Okay, then I'm going to use my slope to continue my line. So what I tell my kids is just a quick little reminder. The numerator tells you to go up or down, okay? So if it's the numerator is positive, we're going to go up. If the numerator is negative, we're going to go down. Then the denominator tells me to go left or right. If it's negative, I'm going to go left. If it's positive, I'm going to go right. So use that when we're talking about which direction to go to complete my line. So the slope of this equation is -3. Well, in order to make it a fraction, I need to, without changing its value, we're going to put -3/1. So -3/1 is -3 is the numerator, so we're going to go down 3. And then +1 is the denominator, so we're going to go right 1. So from my y-intercept, we're going to go down 3, right 1, put a dot. Down 3, right 1, put a dot. Down 3, right 1, put a dot. And normally I would go in the opposite direction, so up 3, left 1 to complete the graph, go from the end of the graph to the other end. But since I don't have, it would be off the graph if I went up 3, left 1, we're done. So then I would take a ruler and then draw my line. But be careful here. This is where we need to pay attention to what type of line. Since its y is greater than or equal to, we are going to use a solid line, okay? And then we have to worry about our shading. So since its y is greater than or equal to, we're going to shade above. In this case, above would be everything on top of this line, like that. And then what this means is, and we'll talk about this in a couple of days, is any point in this shaded region or on this line is a solution to this equation. So let's look at number 2. My y-intercept is where we start, so -5, which means down 5. Okay. My slope is already in fraction form, so 3/5. Since +3 is on the numerator, we're going to go up 3. And since it's +5 on the denominator, we're going to go right 5 using this little symbol here. So from my -5, we're going to go up 3, right 5. Okay. And I can't go up 3, right 5 anymore, so then we try the opposite direction, which would be down 3, left 5, and I can't do that either. So this particular graph only can fit 2 points, okay? So then we look at what type of line we're going to have. Since it's less than or equal to, it's also going to be solid, so this is a solid line. And since it's less than or equal to, this means we're going to shade below this time, and below means under. So that means this region, okay? Continuing that, number 3, my y-intercept is -5. So again, we start at -5 on the y-axis. My slope is -1, but to complete my rise over run, we have to make it a fraction without changing its value. So we're going to make the denominator +1, okay? So then, -1 in the numerator means I'm going to go down 1, and then +1 on the denominator means I'm going to go right 1. So I'm going to go down 1, right 1 from my -5. And that's all I can do in this direction. So to go the opposite direction, we're going to go up one, left one, which is just the opposite of these two. So up one, left one, up one, left one. And notice it continues in a straight line. So up one, left one, up one, left one, up one, left one, until I can't anymore. Then we look at what kind of line we're going to have. So this is greater than, which means it's going to be a dashed line, which means you kind of just draw a line, skip a space, draw a line, skip a space, draw a line, skip a space. It's not completely solid. And again, the shading. So since this is greater than, we are going to shade above. So that means on top, which means all of this. Okay. Number 4 is a special case. So pay close attention. I teach it a little differently. So when you just have y and a number, okay, y and a number, this means it's going to cross the y-axis at -4. So the y-axis at -4 is right here. And since it's going to cross the y-axis at -4, that means to cross it, it would be horizontal, like this. Now, before I draw my line, though, we need to see what kind of line it's going to be. So since it's greater than, it's going to be a dashed line. So you draw, skip, draw, skip, draw, skip, draw, skip. Okay. Then we still look at whether we shade above or below. So since it's greater than, we're going to shade above, which is just on top. Okay. Continuing on. So number 5, my y-intercept is -5 again. They love that number. My slope is 2. To make 2 a fraction without changing its value, we're going to put it over 1. Since 2 is positive on top, that means we're going to go up 2. And since +1 is the denominator, we're going to go right 1. Okay. So I'm going to go up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. Okay, and we're going to see what kind of line this is going to be. So since it's greater than, it's going to be a dashed line, which means draw, skip, draw, skip, draw, skip, draw, skip, draw, skip. And this time it's greater than, so that means we're going to shade above, which in this case means on top, which means here. Okay, so continuing on, my y-intercept is +2, so that means I'm going to start at +2. My slope is already in fraction form, so we just have to determine which ways to go. Since it's +7 in the numerator, we're going to go up 7. And since it's +4 in the denominator, we're going to go right 4. So from my y-intercept, we're going to go up 7, right 4, which I cannot do because it would be off the graph. I could make it a little guesstimate, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but it's kind of really off, so I'm not going to do that. But I can't just have one dot on the graph, so I have to go the opposite direction, which means down 7, left 4. Down 7, left 4. And that's the only other point that I can put on. So we're going to figure out what kind of line this is. So it's a solid line because it's greater than or equal to. So you just draw a straight solid line. And then greater than or equal to means above, so I would shade above in this region. Number 7, this is like number 4. It's a special case because all I see is x and a number. So this time it's going to cross the x-axis at -5. So -5 is right here on the x-axis. And since it's going to have to cross the x-axis, that means it has to be a vertical line this time, not horizontal. And we have to figure out what kind of line it's going to be. So since it's just less than, that means it's going to be a dashed line, which means draw, skip, draw, skip. And less than means below. Now, in this case, when we're talking about below, we're looking at the numbers on the x-axis. So we're looking for numbers that are below -5. And the only numbers below -5 which would be to the left. So a below means a little something different here when I'm looking at left to right. So there is my answer. Okay. Number 8, I'm going to start at the y-intercept of -4, so down 4. Okay. And then I'm going to, my slope is already in fraction form, so I'm going to go 4, 3. And since it's +4, I'm going to go up. +3, I'm going to go to the right. So up 4, right 3. Up 4, right 3. In the opposite direction, I cannot go down 4, left 3 because it goes off the graph. So then we see what kind of line we have, which is a solid line, which means I would just go straight through. And since it's less than or equal to, that means it's going to be below. So in this case, it would be underneath. And that is how you graph some linear inequalities.